Hello, my dear friends. Welcome to all of you. In the last lecture, we learned about the method to measure the length, the mass, and the time. So, we learned about one of the most important method, which is called as parallax method, to find the distance from moon to earth. And we did some problems based on that method. So, in today's lecture, we will learn about the errors in the measurement. We will learn something about what is called as accuracy, what is precision, and how different errors are calculated. So based on those concepts, we will do some problems and we will develop some more understanding. So let us start. Now what is accuracy? We all know that whenever we measure something from an instrument, there is always a possibility of an error associated with that instrument. So accuracy of a particular instrument is something which provides a measured value which is nearer to the true value. So accuracy is something how close the measured value is to the true value. Like how much is the gap? Is the gap very small, very large, or what is it? What is it? So let us take an example. Suppose we measured 9.802 meter of length from an instrument. Okay, and suppose this is the true value of any physical quantity. Now we have two instruments, one instrument A, another instrument B. So when we measured the length from this instrument, we got 9.7 meter, right? And when we did the measurement from this instrument, we got the value of 9.54 meter. Now here is the catch. Here we will understand the difference between accuracy and precision. Now this value is more closer to this value. Okay, so this value is more accurate. And what about this value? This value is not closer to this value, but the precision of this value is larger than this value. Why? Because it can measure up to 0.01 limit or resolution. So this instrument can measure up to 2 decimal places, while this instrument can measure only up to 1 decimal places. So the limit of this instrument A is 0.1, right? So this value is more precise and less accurate, and this value is more accurate but less precise. Okay, so this is the basic difference between accuracy and precision. Now we will learn about error. What is an error? Error is defined as the uncertainty in the measurement. Uncertainty in the measurement of a physical quantity, PQ. Now there are some kinds of errors which are very important from the point of view of the competitive examinations. So now we will learn like what are the three kinds of categories of errors we have. So errors have been divided or classified into three categories. First is the mean absolute error. Second is the relative or fractional error. Relative or fractional error. And third is the percentage error. These three errors are very important, and we will do some basic problems based on these three kinds of errors. Let us start from the mean absolute error. Okay, now we will do one example. We will solve from one example. Let us assume that we have measured some values of any physical quantity, say length, and we got around A1, A2, A3, A4 up to so on AN values. Okay, these are my measured values. So now what is mean absolute error, MAE? So what will be the average of all these observations? Let us call it as AM. AM will be equal to A1 plus A2 plus up to so on AN divided by N. Generally we assume the average value to be the true value, to be the true value for a physical quantity. So this is my AM, right? Now what is absolute error? Suppose let us take this observation A1. So what will be the absolute error associated with this particular value? We denote absolute error by delta. Delta A1 will be equal to the difference of this A1 minus this measured value. Now we are talking about the absolute value here. So we will take the mod of this value, right? In a similar fashion, we will do it for A2, A3, A4 and up to so on AN values. So similarly, we will get for delta AN will be equal to AN minus AM, right? So these are my absolute errors. And I am talking about the mean here. So what we will do? We will take the mean of all these absolute errors and which will be equal to mean absolute error. So let us call this mean absolute error as delta A bar. So this delta A bar will be equal to the average of all these absolute errors. So mod of delta A1 plus mod of delta A2 plus up to so on plus mod of delta AN divided by number of observations. So now this is my mean absolute error, right? So now comes what is fractional error. Once we have found the value of mean absolute error, the relative or fractional error is simple to find out. So this relative fractional error, or called as FE, fractional error, will be equal to this delta A bar. Delta A bar is what? It is mean absolute error divided by this measured value, which we just found out. So this will be my fractional error or relative error. Now comes the term of percentage error. Percentage error is nothing but just the percentage of this fractional error. So percentage error will be equal to delta A bar by AM into 100%, right? So these are the concepts behind these three different types of errors. We will do one problem based on these concepts. Now we will learn something about the combination of errors. What happens when two physical quantities are combined? They may be added, subtracted, multiplied, or divided. So the next topic is combination of errors. We will start from the addition. What happens when two physical quantities are added? Let us take, we have two physical quantities A and B, right? A and B. Now we have added these two physical quantities to get a third physical quantity. Okay. Now let us take delta A be the absolute error during the measurement of A. And similarly, delta B be the absolute error associated with the measurement of physical quantity B. Now, since this value, this quantity has error, this physical quantity has error, so definitely when these two physical quantities will be added up, the third quantity X will also have an error. Let us call that error to be delta X. Now, this is what we have to find here. What would be that value? What would be that maximum error which can be there in the measurement of X quantity, right? So this maximum absolute error delta X, this will be equal to plus minus this absolute error in physical quantity A plus absolute error in physical quantity B, right? This will be the maximum error when these two quantities A and B will be added up. Now from this we can find the percentage error, that will be equal to delta X by X, right? Now delta X is, the maximum error is this one, delta A plus delta B divided by A plus B into 100. So in this fashion we can find the percentage error in the addition of two physical quantities. Done? Now the next topic is what happens when two physical quantities are in the difference of each other. Like when X is equals to A minus B. What happens? This is my second topic, right? Difference of two physical quantities. When X is equal to A minus B, my maximum absolute error will remain the same. Now let us move on to the third one. When X is equals to A into B. So we will start in the same fashion as we did for my topic 1 and topic 2. Let us assume delta A be the absolute error in the measurement of A. and delta B be the absolute error in the measurement of physical quantity B. Now, what would be the maximum fractional error in X? That we have to find out. So that would be the maximum fractional error will be equal to plus minus the fractional error in A, delta A by A, plus the fractional error in B, delta B by B. This would be my maximum fractional error in quantity X. You can call it as a maximum fractional error. Okay. Now, let us change this a bit. Now, what happens when X is equals to A by B? For division of the two physical quantities, this equation will not change. It will remain the same as it was for the product of two physical quantities. Okay. Now, what will happen when we have some exponential powers in the physical quantities? When X is equals to A to the power n by B to the power m. In that case, these errors will be multiplied by these powers n and m star is multiplication. So when the third physical quantities is raised to higher powers in the single physical quantities, then the error is multiplied. Then the third physical quantities which we will get from this relation, that will be more erratic. It will have more error in comparison to the error in A and B. So this is the theory behind this combination of error. Now let us move on to the next topic, significant figures. What are these significant figures? Significant figures are nothing but they are the certain digits which are measured by an instrument. For example, we measure our height and we get that value of 1.78 meter, right? So these three digits, 1.78, we are certain that the height which has been measured by an instrument, these values are certain. These values are not coming with any uncertainty. So definitely we will say that this value has three significant figures, because we are certain that these are measured by instrument. It has no uncertainty. So it has three significant figures. Now there are certain rules mentioned in the literature to determine the number of significant figures based on the values which have been represented. So we will understand about the rules. The first rule of counting a significant figure in any number is that all non-zero digits are significant. All non-zero digits are significant. For example, 54.256. 26.248, 25.2. These all are non-zero digits, and all these digits are significant because they have been measured by an instrument. So this will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It will have 5 significant figures. It will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 significant figures. 1, 2, 3, it will have 3 significant figures. Right? The second rule is, whenever you see any value which has a 0 in between two non-zero digits, then that 0 is significant. We cannot ignore this 0. So if we get such case, then in that condition, the 0 will be significant, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this will have 5 significant figures. And one thing is for sure, that higher the significant figures we get from an instrument, higher is the accuracy. The higher the significant figures, higher is the accuracy. That thing we have to keep in mind. Okay? Suppose it is 28.00002. In this condition, all these 3 zeros are significant. So the total number of significant figures in this number will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. 6 significant figures. Right? Third rule is the zeros which are coming to the left of the number, they are insignificant. Suppose we get these kind of values. So these zeros are insignificant. This is rule number 3. These zeros have not to be counted, and they are insignificant. So in this case, we will have only 2 significant figures, and in this case, we will have only 3 significant figures. This is my rule number 3. Okay. Rule number 4 is the zeros which are to the right of the number, they are always significant. For example, we get a value of 433.000, okay, 265.263, so 265.000. So these zeros are significant. They have to be counted when you are counting the significant figures in a number. So it will have 3 plus 3, 6 significant figures. This number will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 significant figures. One thing I am again repeating, higher the significant figures, higher is the accuracy of an instrument. Okay. So this is my rule number 4. Now comes my rule number 5. My rule number 5. We write the numbers in scientific notation. Suppose we write 1500. I can write this as 1.5 into 10 to the power 3. So when we get a number in scientific notation, the numerical part is only significant and this part is insignificant. So this will have 2 significant figures. So in scientific notation, the exponential part is insignificant, the numerical part is significant. So we have 2 significant figures here. So these are the 5 rules for counting significant figures. Let us do a quick recap of the 5 rules. The first rule was that all non-zero digits, they are significant. The second rule was that if we have a 0 in between 2 non-zero digits, then that 0 will be significant and it has to be counted. My third rule was that if I have a 0 towards the left of the number, then those zeros will not be counted and they will be insignificant. They have not to be counted, they have to be removed. My fourth rule was that if I have a zeros towards the right of the number or after the decimal places, then those zeros will be significant. They have to be counted when you are counting the significant figures. Okay? And my fifth rule was that if I am writing a number in scientific notation, then the numerical part will be significant and the exponential part will be insignificant. So these are the 5 standard rules for counting significant figures. Now comes the next topic, which is an important topic, is rounding off. Rounding off is basically used to reduce the number of significant figures in a number. This is used to reduce significant figures in the measured value. Now, we have certain standard 5 rules for rounding off a number. Let us start from the rule 1. My rule 1 is, it says that, let us take one example. We will learn from examples. Suppose I have to round this number off to single decimal places, or we can say that it has 3 significant figures. I have to reduce its significant figures to 2 significant figures. That would be a better version of saying this. So my first rule says that the number which is to be dropped, if that number is less than 5, then the preceding number will remain the same. So this number is less than 5. So what will be my rounding off? 7.8. It has how many significant figures? 2 significant figures. What is the purpose of rounding off? To reduce significant figures. This I am doing by rounding off. So this is my rule number 1. If the digit to be dropped is less than 5, then the preceding digit will not change, it will remain the same. Okay? Now next rule is, suppose it is 7.86. Okay? Now this rule says that if the digit to be dropped is greater than 5, then the preceding digit will be raised by 1. So this is 6, this will become 7.9. Right? This is my rule 2. My rule 3 says that suppose I take this example, 16.351. Suppose this rule says that if the number to be dropped is 5, okay, and if it is followed by a non-zero digit number, then the preceding digit will be raised by 1. So the digit which I have to drop is 5. It is followed by non-zero number. Then this will be increased by 1. And this will become 16.4. This is my rule number 3. Okay. Now what my rule number 4 says, it says that, suppose I will take the same example. This is my rule number 4. 16.350. If such is the case, if the number to be dropped is 5 and it is followed by a 0, then the preceding digit, if it is odd, it will be increased by 1 and it will become 16.4. Okay, this is my rule 4, and rule 5 is what? It is if the condition is same, if the number to be dropped is 5 and it is followed by a 0, then we have to check what is the evenness or oddness of the number which is preceding this digit. So if this number is even, it will not change, it will remain the same. This is what this rule number 5 says. If the digit to be dropped is 5 and is followed by 0 and the preceding number is odd, it will be increased by 1. But if the preceding digit is even and the condition stays the same, this will not change, it will remain the same. This is the rule for rounding off. Now comes the question that what happens when two physical quantities are added or subtracted or multiplied or divided if they have different significant numbers and they are measured up to different decimal places. So what happens in that case? So we will start from one example. Let us take, we have three physical quantities A, B and C. A has a measured value of 33.321. Okay. The next physical quantity B has a measured value of 3.6. Okay. And the third physical quantity C has a value of 2.21. Okay. Now, suppose we have to do the addition of these three physical quantities. I will get a number. We can do the addition, no issues. So, what we have to check here is that when we are doing the addition of three different physical quantities with different significant numbers and the values have been measured up to different decimal places. So in case of addition and subtraction, we have to check the number with the least decimal place. Okay, here 3.6 has one decimal place. So the number which we will get here, that will be up to one decimal place, right? That will be up to one decimal place. And the same rule will apply for the difference when we are doing the difference of different physical quantities. So we will have to stick to this rule that the number with the least decimal place will be applicable in the final calculated value. Okay. Now comes the case for the product and multiplication and division. Suppose we have we take these same numbers 33.321 and 3.62. Let us change it a bit. Suppose these two physical quantities have to be multiplied. Okay. After multiplication, we will get a value. Okay. This dot something like that. Now, in the case of product and division, we have to count the significant figures. Here, in addition and difference, we were focused on the decimal places, the least decimal places. But in case of product and division, we have to focus on the number with the least significant figures, and the same least significant figures will be applicable for the final calculated value. So this has 5 significant figures, this has 3 significant figures. So the value which we will get here will have 3 significant figures. So in this lecture, we learned about accuracy, precision of instruments, we learned about errors, the kinds of errors, we learned about combination of errors, then we learned about significant figures, the rules for rounding off, what to do when we are adding or subtracting different physical quantities, what to keep in mind. We learned about the decimal places rule. Then we learned about the rule of the usage of significant figures when we are multiplying or dividing the two different physical quantities. So these were the basic concepts which we did today. In the next lecture, we will do some fundamental numericals based on these concepts. So thank you for watching. Thank you.